Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it. In other words, I think you all know what it is. Completed, signing it in just a little while, right after I'm finished with this conference. I'll be signing it. It's prepared to go. So we will be invoking the Defense Production Act, in which activated FEMA's National Response Coordination Center. FEMA now is fully engaged at the highest levels. Today, FEMA is activated in every region. We are at level one being the highest level. Every generation of Americans has been called to make shared sacrifices for the good of the nation. And now it's our time. We must sacrifice together because we are all in this together and we'll come through together.
And today, at the President's direction, FEMA has gone to level 1. Our recommendations to every America, as well as some important new findings about the impact on youth that we're.
It may have been that the millennial generation, our largest generation, our future generation, that will carry us through for the next multiple decades. There may be disproportional number of infections among that group. And so even if it's a rare occurrence, it may be seen more frequently in that group.
We believe that these recommendations will help surgeons, patients, and hospitals prioritize what is essential while leaving the ultimate decision in the hands of state and local health officials and those clinicians who have direct responsibility to their patients. But the shared sacrifice is essential to help those that are on the front lines.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate. Yeah, please, John, please. I have great love for all of the people from our country, but as you know, China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers. Very, very contagious virus.
Do you consider America to be on a wartime footing in terms of fighting this virus?
I do. I actually do. I'm looking at it that way because, you know, if it got out of control, the big thing we did was a very early stoppage of people coming in who could be very, very heavily infected. Say it.
Thank you, Mr. President. In talking about China, you've been very clear about who you think is to blame or where the origin to blame for this virus is.
Not think. No. I don't think. I know where it came from. I don't know if you'd say China's to blame. Certainly we didn't get an early run on it. It would have been helpful if we knew about it earlier.
So I just wanted to clarify something, because just a week ago, you all were standing here telling us that unless you had sustained contact with somebody who was symptomatic for COVID-19, you really didn't need to worry. You told the president, the vice president, that if they shook hands with somebody who had this, if they took a photograph with somebody who had this, they didn't really need to worry. And yet, several days later, we're in a situation where people are being told, don't leave your houses. There are curfews saying you cannot walk alone at night after a certain time. Can you walk us through what seems like a very dramatic swing, a very dramatic disconnect from what we were hearing before to what we're hearing now?
I think none of us really understood the level of surface piece. So we're still working out how much is it by human-human transmission and how much is it by surface. And this is why those fundamental guidelines were put out that says don't expose yourself to surfaces outside the home. Expose yourself to surfaces that could have had the virus on it, for which on hard surfaces, I know we had the cardboard issue about shipping, hard surfaces, not shown in fabric as much or in cardboard, but hard surface transmission. These are issues that we haven't had to deal with before with the level of respiratory infections, and that's why we have this concern, and that's why the President put out the guidelines.
About millennials and others perhaps not taking some of these warnings as seriously as you would like.
They were feeling totally invincible, or are feeling that way, but they don't realize that they can be carrying lots of bad things home to grandmother and grandfather and even their parents.
There were a
lot of Americans that were already alienated. We saw deaths of despair increasing through suicide and other things. Now, as these individuals, a lot of times in rural parts of the country, are self-isolating.
Just hours after the coronavirus was designated as a global pandemic by the World Health Organization, Hollywood's all-time sweetheart Tom Hanks announced that he had tested positive for the virus while shooting a movie in Australia. On March 11th, Hanks posted on his Instagram that he and his wife Rita Wilson, who also tested positive, both felt cold-like symptoms, fatigue and body aches. He added, "What to do next? The medical officials have protocols that must be followed. We Hankses will be tested, observed, and isolated for as long as public health and safety requires." As not only the first high-profile celebrity to be diagnosed, the actor's son, Chet Hanks, tried his best to put fans at ease about his parents' health with a video on Instagram.
They both are fine. They're not even that sick. They're going through the necessary health precautions, obviously.
But what is it that made Hanks so prone to catching the spreading virus in the first place?